But of the 18 people, including Rita and David and I, that went to the North American Conference of Homophile Organizations in 1968, David and I and two others survived. The rest of them died. That was the national leadership. It was all of the national.
Can I ask, where were y'all able to find a place to meet?
We met in the Trip restaurant in Chicago because it had been closed because one guy reached over and held hands with another and the police closed the whole place. And we met in July of 1968, just the week before the National Democratic Convention in Chicago in 1968, which is famous.
Whenever that took place, were there anybody, I know that the language has changed a lot over the years, but was there anyone there that might be...
considered now trans? Yeah, sure. Sure. There were, let's see, Del Martin, the Butchie Dyke, and Dale never wore anything but pants. And she died the year before last. Dick Leish, who's still alive, was a performer in a dress and the chair of the New York Mattachine Society.
Wait a
But
second.
they frowned on his drag experience.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because I had heard...
Oh, the Mattachine Society was absolutely downright. But Dick was smart. He was young. He was ambitious. And he made one mistake. He's the person that called me. I was in Kansas City at the North American Conference Homophile Organization. We called it Clearinghouse because we'd received newsletters from all of the gay, lesbian, transgender organizations. And there was organizations with a transgendered bent. And there was Campus Gay Radical Organization. But the Clearinghouse would take all of those newsletters in and then redistribute them to everybody else. You send them copies and they make stencils and
Right,
it was
yeah.
purple
Yeah, oh yes, I remember
mimeograph
those.
stuff, and then redistribute that so everybody was kind of in touch with what everybody else was doing. That's the closest thing we have to a national organization. And I was there, and Dick Leish called the headquarters. And Mark wasn't his real name, was the guy that operated that. And Mark did a little drag stuff in Kansas City, but he kept it a secret because he knew the other organizations wouldn't approve of it. I mean, basically, transgendered people are people that would be in a general transvestite, transgender gestalt. We're closeted when interacting with other gay people. Okay? Even though, see, I'm with the academic. I was the one that read about organizing Saul Alinsky stuff and studied Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and I was that guy. And I knew about Karl Ulrich, who was in Germany in the 1800s. See, Karl Ulrich predates Magnus Hirschfeld. And Karl Ulrich was clearly transgender. Karl Ulrich struggled hard to be gay, but Carl Ulrich was in reality transgender. And if you see pictures of him, he looks as awkward as hell in those men's clothes. He just don't fit. And it's clear to me, and it was clear to me then, that Carl Ulrich was not in the mainstream of what they were trying to make gay people to be. Now, the motto of the Mattachine Society is what you do, and they put it around their ads. What you do reflects on me, what I do reflects on you, what we do reflects on the rest of the community, so act and be normal. That was their fucking slogan. And at that 1968 conference, the big deal is Franklin Kameny proposed that we adopt the motto, not what the slogan was for the Mattachine Society, but the motto of gay is good. We debated that for 4 hours. I chaired part of that debate. Now, Frank, who was in charge of the minutes, wrote that it passed unanimously. That's a goddamn lie. It did not pass unanimously. There were 6 abstentions out of 18 people. 6 people didn't take a position, and a couple of people voted against it. I took the vote. I know what that was. And Frank just lied. Hell, the minutes were, he was in charge of the meeting, put down what he wanted to. You know. There wasn't going to be another meeting to approve it because the next time the North American Conference was to get together, it had outlived its purpose and died. Bruce Fowler was there. He is the founder of the National Gay Task Force. And he was the bisexual friend of Franklin Kameny. And he and Frank argued all the time. I didn't want to get involved in that, so I didn't. And they thought I was a cop when I came to the door.
Really?
So, well, see, I'm this big, kind of clumsy, butch guy. And so I get to the door, and Jim Keltner is greeting people at the door, and he said, "Officer, you understand you have to identify yourself as an officer before you come into this meeting." And I said, "Identify myself? What do you mean?" He said, "Well, we have a problem with undercover, and you have to, if you're an officer, you have to tell us." And I said, "Look, why don't you and I go in this closet, and I can show you who I am." He said, "Oh, okay, we'll just continue." And he had a shirt made that said, "I came out of the closet in 1942. And I saw him in it at the first march on Washington. I said, "Jim, that's a goddamn lie. You were caught on your knees in an alley in London in front of an Australian sailor in 1942. It wasn't no closet. They drug you kicking and screaming out of the closet. What do you mean you came out?" I know your story. All of those wonderful people are dead. I feel guilty. It's a terrible thing. Dick Lash's health is not good. David's been on his last legs for a decade. But that's where we come from.